in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network here on a beautiful, wonderful, tremendous Thursday evening. We got a saying around here last show.
You think you noticed? Do you think they noticed?
I don't know. I think he looks great over there.
So, if you can see, Brooks is not here. If you've been watching the show throughout the week, you saw we didn't have a show Monday night. He was sick with the flu. Tuesday night, had to cut it early because, just wasn't feeling good, wasn't feeling Jordan energy up to the flu game. So Wednesday he decided, I'm done suffering alone. I'm going to get the rest of my family sick, which means that today it's just the two of us, me and Jay Will. But it's still NBR. It's still the same format we've always done. As a matter of fact, Brooks is still upstairs, probably watching the show right now. So if things start to go wrong, he'll come down here and take over and kick us out. So we're walking on eggshells right now. But happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you tonight. Is Jeff Hafley, how alarming is this news? Did this player help or hurt his draft stock during the Senior Bowl? And what are some players and other players helping their draft stock? And is Kalen DeBoer burning bridges left and right? That's what we got going on for you tonight in the NBR. J. Will, how you feeling, buddy?
Doing good. We also got some more betting news. Keyshawn Boutte could not be in the news alone by himself. This time it's a head coach. It is the former, I think it's former now, Alabama baseball coach. Maybe even a crazier story if you ask me. This one was absolutely insane. Can't wait to share that one and talk about that one. So
yes.
I'm absolutely excited about what we got going on tonight.
Real Dumb and Dumber situation going on there. But before we do any of that, we got to pay the bills. I'm not sure that you've heard, but there's a bill in the state of Georgia going in the front of the House right now. Make sports gambling legal. We'll have more on that in the local hour. But who even gambles anymore? Prize Picks is the best way to play daily fantasy sports games where you can get a shitload of money. What?
Did we turn the live on?
Is it on?
I don't think so.
Hang on. J. Will's not the lab on. Brooks is so mad at you.
Oh, I think it was on. Maybe.
Either way, Prize Picks is the best way to win daily fantasy sports games, and you win a shitload of money using promo code Brooks. You sign up, that means you get $100, up to $100 bonus on whatever your deposit is. That means you make first deposit, it's matched by Prize Picks, whatever. So if you put $100 in, guess what? You get a free $100. That means, guess what? Call your dad up. Say, Dad, I need $100 for this textbook. Boom. Right there, you just got another free $100 for Prize Picks. Now, what did that cost you? Absolutely nothing except the trust and love from your father, which honestly is worth $100 to some of you. So, did you get it fixed?
Yeah.
Jay Will's got it. Don't worry, guys.
I think I got it. Is it good? I don't know. I've never messed with this.
It's all good. Either way, so Jeff Hafley, Halfy? It's Hafley, right?
Hafley, yeah, I believe, with an A.
So he has announced that he will be taking the defensive coordinator position with the Green Bay Packers. And if you're wondering who the hell that is, he was the head coach at Boston College prior to taking this job, which is weird because you almost never go from head coach to coordinator, whatever the position is. So I hear Brooks rumbling around. He's coming. Oh, dude, we messed up already.
Dang it. We only got like 5
we got
minutes
4 minutes in.
Interesting itself because, this is kind of something we've talked about in college football in general. Hello, boss man.
You're good, bro.
Keep going.
All right. Appreciate it. So anyways, yeah, this is kind of something that we have talked about in college football before, like kind of hinting at like the grind in itself, the schedule in itself, and everything of itself in today's world of college football is harder on coaches. It's tough on them. And so it's kind of been a talking point of, at some point, are we going to start seeing coaches start flood to the NFL or just simply, hang it up? Maybe that kind of had something to do with Nick Saban retiring. I think it had more so to do with his age and the current climate of college football. But this one's definitely interesting. And then we've kind of had some more names after, even in the midst of the news today, that have potentially going to the NFL. Like Chip Kelly was one that we just heard before getting on the show, of him potentially going to be the offensive coordinator for the Commanders. So it's certainly a big talking point in college football. And just, it's going to be something that we continue to talk about every time one of these coaches decides to go to the NFL.
So let me read you a little clip, or not even a clip, but it's the quote from this ESPN article on the news. Quote, he wants to coach football again in a league that's all about football, source told ESPN. Coaching college has become fundraising, NIL, and recruiting your own team and transfers. There's no time to coach football anymore. a lot of things that he went back to college for have disappeared. So it's basically confirming that the reason he left Boston College was because he was just burnt out on all the semantics, all the politics that you have in college coaching. You have to deal with NIL. Yeah. You have to deal with all the other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that Brooks mentioned when he went to the state championship games this year in Georgia, of like these coaches are constantly on their phone. They're constantly having to talk to their players, constantly having to please a bunch of people on the NIL front. That doesn't even dig into what you have to do on the recruiting trail. I mean, this wasn't even a head coach, right? This is an offensive coordinator for Boston College, so it's not even the head man of a program. So I think it's definitely a big thing to talk about. I mean, it's just one example really that we've kind of heard someone come out and say, like, this is what I was dealing with and I just had to get out of it. But I think it's something that you're probably going to start hearing more about for sure here moving forward.
So Brooks just said probably change the batteries in the lab. So if you want to do that real quick,
I did it pre-show.
Either way. But if you think about this for a minute, Nick Saban retires. Jim Harbaugh leaves the NFL. Jeff Hafley's now leaving to be coordinator in the NFL. Chip Kelly might be leaving UCLA. So that's 4 coaches that are at fairly big-name schools that are at fairly predominant programs. And you have to wonder, is there a coincidence, the fact that we're going to a 12-team playoff, the fact that NIL is becoming more and more of a play, the fact that conference realignment is happening? So it's something to look at and think of, where's this future of college football? Because Kirby Smart warned about this 2 years ago where, hey, you're going to start seeing a lot of really, really good coaches get tired of what they're doing now because of all the shit they have to put up with. So it's very interesting for me to see that it's starting to happen now, and coaches are openly admitting it. Like, hey, yeah, I'm tired of not being able to just coach a football team. I don't want to have to deal with NIL. I don't want to have to deal with all the other things that have come with it and the way the game has adapted in the last 5 years. I mean, think about 2017 college football, how different it looked from today. Not even conference alignment, not even playoff format, just NIL and transfer portal, things such as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rapid change. I mean, I would say it's been kind of a gradual change, but it's also been a very rapid change in the sense of one day college football was this way, pay for play, NIL wasn't a thing, and then it suddenly changed. And I wouldn't say it was forced or anything like that, but it was definitely just kind of like, hey, this is now a thing. Like, this is what we got going on now. This is at play. And now it's kind of taking a while for college football to adapt a little bit, and it's kind of now we're in the conversation of what rules do we need to implement. Like, now the transfer portal windows exist where you can be in the transfer portal, you can enter the transfer portal at this time, and this time you can't. So, I mean, I think eventually the sport is going to continue to adapt like it always has. I think it is still in a good position. I mean, people still love college football. I wouldn't say it's going to harm. I just say it's, one of those things that you got to continue to adjust to. But I would also say that obviously some coaches and some people just aren't going to adjust to it, and they're just going to say, I got to move on from this because this is what's best for me. And that's okay. I mean, there's tons of coaches. There's so many people involved in college football that you can't possibly keep everybody around.
Well, I mean, the question is, you ask is, how do you make life easier on being a college football coach? Because, I mean, those guys work 366 days a year out of 365, It seems like. They never stop. Like, I've talked to people within the UGA organization. It's like, we are constantly working. There's 1 week off in the dead period, but other than that, it's constant work. And I feel like that's never really going to change. And you add all these components in. Yeah, the league's going to adjust. Yeah, NIL is going to eventually balance out to what it should be. Yeah, the transfer portal is going to reset the market in some ways. Conference alignment's eventually going to stop. But you still are going to have the workload. Now, I don't know how you necessarily make that easier on college coach. And, I mean, part of that is also you've got a lot of driven guys in there that want to win. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even in these dead periods of recruiting, or like when Kirby Smart is on vacation, or any of these coaches are taking time with their family, it probably never truly feels like you're just isolated away from the game of college football. I mean, you got 85 scholarship athletes on your roster, plus however many walk-ons, plus however many coaches, personnel on your staff, and those personnel and staff, they certainly help carry the load for you a little bit. But, I mean, when you're managing that many people, when you are the head guy, I mean, there's never really a moment in time probably where you feel like you're stepping away from it or getting any sort of time away from it, because, I mean, it's in their DNA, it's in their nature to just always be consumed with college football. I mean, that's why Kirby Smart is the greatest in college football right now, and there's why good coaches are good coaches, because they're constantly working at their own craft. They're constantly working at trying to make their program better.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting to think about how quickly things have changed, though, to me. Like, you lose Jim Harbaugh, you lose Nick Saban, you lose, like if you made a top 5 list of coaches last year, 3 or 4 of those guys aren't even on the roster anymore, or even in college anymore. So
yeah, I mean, and then you throw in like Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer was on nobody's radar this time last year, and now, I mean, people are going as far as to say that he's the 3rd best head coach in college football now. I can't really remember a time where in off season we saw these many like main figures in the sport either depart or retire or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of them, a lot of big names. So more of them are going to continue to build. Like I just mentioned, Kalen DeBoer. That's kind of someone that's inserted his name into the conversation now because of what he did at Washington. And of course, having the head coaching gig at Alabama always helps. But I mean, a whole lot of change going on in college football this offseason, and more of it's going to happen throughout the season this year as well.
Yeah, so moving on to Kalen DeBoer news, I feel like that's a good segue. Did you see this clip of him trying to get in a picture with Michael Penix?
I saw one of the clips, and I thought the only thing I was like, that's really weird. But it's kind of hard to tell what exactly was going on in that clip. Like, I see him swipe away his arm, but I don't know. What did you to me, it seemed like a step aside. Maybe it's because you got the Bama gear on.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would definitely need to see more of that clip because, I mean, it's only a 3-second clip where basically he puts his arm around and Michael Penix kind of pushes it away. And Kalen DeBoer kind of steps back like, okay. But it is interesting. And when you put it in the context that he basically up and left Washington after the national championship to go join Bama, he kind of, in a way, I don't want to say betray, but just abandoned that team. So I'm sure Michael Penix doesn't have any ill will for what he did while he was there, but you can probably look back and look at other teammates and at guys that got left in the dust and kind of just go like, whoa.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, why should Michael Penix care? That's kind of how I view it. Like, I don't know why he would have any haste or ill feelings towards Kalen DeBoer because, I mean, Kalen DeBoer helped him more than anybody, arguably, throughout his career, and he got him to the point that he is now. Again, I think it was probably just a thing of like, dude, you got Alabama gear on. You can't be in my pictures now. Like that, maybe just some tough love or some – I don't know. But it was definitely interesting to, see that action happen, see him swipe away his arm. It's certainly a good laugh at least.
It's going to be interesting to see in 3 to 4 years how if Kalen DeBoer does succeed or does not succeed at Alabama, how much writing is going to, quote, be on the wall for what's led up to it. Because, I mean, you've seemingly burnt a bunch of bridges in Washington now. You're going over to a place where you've really never had experience, and you have to be able to build bridges up and make connections. And that's something that he's rumored to be struggling with right now. I mean, you look at his offensive coordinator might be going back to Washington to coach the Seattle Seahawks. So
yeah, that's another name we didn't even mention in that conversation of coaches potentially going off to the NFL. Ryan Grubbs. I mean, what a storyline that would be if he leaves Washington, goes to Alabama, and maybe his time at Alabama is a month and a half, if that, and he's already going to go off to maybe be the offensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks. But I think one thing that would be revealed about Alabama is if Kalen DeBoer does indeed struggle a little bit with the Crimson Tide is we would definitely get a glimpse of just how good is that Alabama job when there's not all this lust and lore around the program. Like if it got to a point where they're like, okay, it's time to move on, things just didn't work out with DeBoer, we would really get a good sense of where that program stands. I mean, obviously if it was getting to the point where it struggled, it would impact it a little bit because, I mean, again, part of what makes Alabama so great is the talent that they're able to bring in and the recruiting that they do. But at that point, it probably means that you weren't recruiting and you weren't bringing in a whole lot of talent. So, I mean, it kind of strip it down to just the foundation of the program. And I don't know if you'd get the same names that were interested in it the first time around or acted like they were interested in at least the second time around, but I would imagine so. I think being connected to the SEC, being where they are in the United States, proximity to talent and all that stuff, I think that's always going to help them. But I think it's definitely going to create this transition of we now know exactly how good of a job that Alabama head coaching gig is.
Yeah, a couple of standouts from the Senior Bowl. Who's impressed you the most? I know you probably haven't been able to watch it, but just from clips you've seen and what you've heard, who do you think is kind of upping their stock so far? I mean, there's one guy that's kind of obvious, and it started a Twitter war pretty much, but we'll get into that in the local hour. But who do you think has kind of really helped their draft stock here? I've got a couple. The
first one that came to mind for me was Spencer Rattler, and I just want to talk about, like, watching Spencer, specifically over the last year, watching him grow as a player, grow on the field, grow off the field. Like every time I watch a clip of Spencer Rattler talking to the media or doing any sort of interview, I feel like I come away impressed with him as a human being. He just sounds so mature. He gives all the right answers. And he's got a good head above his shoulders. And I think that's kind of helped him tap into all of this potential and talent that we all knew were there. I mean, regardless of what you want to say about the documentary that he was in about what his character was or anything like that.
Probably 6 years ago now.
Yeah. We all knew how talented he was, though. I mean, you watch him on the football field and you could tell, like, gosh, that guy is so freaking talented. And the fact that he transferred to South Carolina, situation that wasn't very stable, didn't have a lot of great things going on. Offensive line was putrid for him throughout this last season. He was getting hit on basically every single play. But the fact that he played at the level that he did, he was still super impressive. And he just continued to put his best foot forward, and he still continues to do that for the Gamecocks and for himself. I've been impressed with him throughout this whole year, but specifically at the Senior Bowl. I mean, anything you read about him, it's been impressive. People say he's been the best quarterback. I think he's done a lot for his draft stock.
Yeah, my guy is Bo Nix. I mean, you think about the trajectory of Bo Nix's career where 4 years ago, basically him winning the Heisman was a meme at the point where it's like, he's having fun. This is the year. Bo Nix is winning the Heisman. To now, basically, he's essentially to some people.
I think I just heard Brooks groan upstairs when you said that.
Yeah, hey, Bo Nix had a good year, man. Sorry. No, but he's essentially climbed his way into a potential first-round spot. And if everything that's coming out of his Senior Bowl is that he's passing with flying colors. I've seen there's been a couple of underthrown balls on social media, but you're going to have those. I think the fact that you look at 2019 Bo Nix, 2020 Bo Nix, 2021 Bo Nix, and then if you told someone, hey, 2023 he's going to have the highest completion percentage, he's going to be in the thick of a Heisman race. I mean, he's a win over Washington away from possibly win. I mean, he went to New York. Which in of itself was kind of crazy. So I think Bo Nix has really helped his stock because he was kind of a fringe second-round guy, but there might be someone in the first round takes him. It could be the Atlanta Falcons. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely reports about them taking Bo Nix. The only thing with Bo Nix for me is, given that he has played college football for so long, it's hard to look at Bo Nix and say, well, this is a guy that we're going to stow away maybe for a season or two and let him develop. It's like, well, at this point in your career, how much more can you actually develop in your game? If you're not ready to come into the NFL now and be our starter, we're not sure you're really ever going to be a star. What the heck happened there?
I don't know. Just keep going.
What did you think about his comments, though? He made a comment today saying that he claims both Auburn and Oregon. It seemed like to me, based on what I read, that Auburn fans were like, well, we don't claim you, so don't worry about claiming us. But this idea of a player claiming both schools, like, you know, we get in this conversation a lot of, does Ohio State get to claim Joe Burrow at all or anything like that? These transfer quarterbacks that kind of spend multiple seasons at one school, they go off to the other school and they have immense success, and everybody wants, you know, Jalen Hurts, another example of this, of does Alabama get to claim him? Does he claim Alabama? How do you feel about Bo Nix saying, like, well, I claim both of them. I claim being a Tiger and a Duck.
This is the equivalent of if Joe Burrow played 2 seasons at Ohio State and it just never worked out and he flamed out and went to LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason that Ohio State claims him was because he had a successful career. I think Bo Nix is doing that, one, because he did grow up an Auburn fan. Like, Auburn was his dream school. That was the legend around it, the legend of Bo Nix his freshman year. So, I mean, I think he truly does love Auburn, but he had his most successful years at Oregon. Doing that, I think, is just also to appease both sides. Like, oh, no, you know, I claim both sides. You know, I played for both these teams. I love them both. So I don't have a problem with him claiming both sides. I'm sure Auburn fans don't really want him to say, oh, you know, because he didn't have a lot of success on them. But no. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, if a guy wants to claim your school, like you said, especially since his dad played there and then him growing up an Auburn fan, I mean, I feel like it's hard for him not to say that he claims Auburn in some capacity. I do think it is funny, though, that prior to the beginning of the season, we were all making jokes and laughing at the Bo Nix ad in New York.
The bodacious ad.
He had
a billboard.
He had a freaking billboard in New York. Manifested it himself, saying that, I mean, they had the billboard going, the bodacious Heisman campaign going. Everybody laughed at it because it's Bo Nix, Bo Picks, whatever you want to call him. And then now, at the end of the season, you're right. He was right in the thick of it. Definitely helped himself out. Got into a good position over there at Oregon. I think Oregon fans are definitely forever grateful for him because, I mean, he helped elevate that program to another standard along with Dan Lanning. And, you know, just came up a couple games short of potentially going into the college football playoff. And I think a lot of people would have taken them in the college football playoff because they had a good thing going. Even though they lost to Washington in the middle of the year, they still had a lot of momentum going. I mean, they were playing the best football in the Pac-12 up there until the very end, but Washington just proved to still be the better team when it counted most.
Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler has a better NFL career?
I mean, at this point, you got to start betting on traits, and if that's the case, then I'm definitely going Spencer Rattler. For me, what continues to stand out about Spencer Rattler is the fact that the situation that he was, if you can turn that situation into a really good season, if you can still put up really good numbers in a situation where your offensive line wasn't very good, and there's just a lot of bad going on around you, then I think you have a great shot or a higher chance of succeeding in the NFL compared to someone like Bo Nix. Bo Nix is just, again, like I said, at this point in Bo Nix's career, if NFL teams are continuing to view him and say maybe not a guy that comes in right now and starts for us, but maybe a guy later on down the road, I don't know if you're ever going to get that later on down the road version of Bo Nix in the NFL because he played 5 years of college football. He has more starts than anybody in college football history. So I feel like you've kind of already hit your ceiling as an athlete at this point. Obviously, the NFL is a little different than college football, but I don't know if there's a lot more room to grow. Where Spencer, I still feel like maybe he hasn't fully tapped into that ceiling that he has.
Yeah, if you're just now joining us and you're wondering where the hell Brooks is, he's over there. Don't worry. Oh, what happened to him?
Dude, I think I knocked him over.
Brooks is asleep on the chair over there, as you can see.
Rest up, buddy. It's all right.
He's still not feeling great, but no, he's upstairs taking care of his family. He got them all sick, so shout out to him. I do have a question though about pro days, and I kind of have an answer, and I kind of understand this, but why is it you see athletes opt out of bowl games because of the threat of injuries, and you get injured, that pretty much derails your draft stock, but then they go and they compete in exhibition games and multiple drills and contact drills for a long weekend in the Pro Bowl or the Senior Bowl? I don't understand that. And I do somewhat understand because, not a live game, not as much. It's more of like the Pro Bowl environment where you're just doing drills, you're trying to impress scouts. But if you don't think scouts are coming to bowl games or they've already watched all 14 of your games prior to that, I don't understand that. Do you have a reason behind that?
I mean, I guess one thing that you could mention is that for the majority, they are in shorts and shoulder pads. It's not full-on contact unless you're obviously a defensive lineman or offensive lineman, where it's full go every single rep. I mean, we saw one of the clips, I think it's the other day that happened of, sometimes tempers flare and whatnot. But I think it is just the amount of exposure that you can get from the Senior Bowl. That is, I think it is a lot more beneficial for you to go attend that event and go play in the Senior Bowl because, we're seeing it now. You make one good play, you're viral on social media, everybody's talking about you, and it only takes that one play for people to really talk about you. The groupthink theory that Brooks mentioned the other day of like, one guy starts talking about you and the whole group starts talking about you, and that's it for you. Your name starts taking off. So I think it is a lot more beneficial to play in the Senior Bowl. Plus, I think it's in a setting where people hold a lot more value to that because you're competing against other people that are pushing for the NFL, whereas in bowl games, you're kind of getting a mixture of a lot of different things, like maybe a freshman that hasn't played all year, but now he has to play because the guy ahead of him opted out for the NFL draft. So I think it's just that, and I don't think people hold a lot of value into bowl games anymore. I don't know if scouts do or not. It certainly can't hurt yourself to have one last good showing in a college football setting in a bowl game. But I think we are seeing this week of how impactful the Senior Bowl truly is.
Yeah, for sure. It's just interesting to me that you're not immune to injuries in the Senior Bowl. Like, we've seen it happen before. We've seen guys go down and get season-ending injuries. I don't understand why there's so much emphasis placed on not playing in a bowl game. Where, like you said, it doesn't matter as much. Where you can honestly take a few plays off in a bowl game. I'm not recommending that you do that, but we have seen it before. Where it's like, oh, that guy's clearly just going through the motions here. He's checked out. But you were talking about a guy that potentially hurt his draft stock at this bowl game. What did you see this? What is it, Jordan Jefferson clip?
Is it Jordan Jefferson?
I think it is.
I think it is Jordan Jefferson. I think you're right.
Basically,
out of LSU.
It's one-on-ones with – I'm trying to remember who the offensive lineman is.
I can't remember who it was. I didn't recognize the logo, I don't even think.
But if you've ever been on the offensive line doing one-on-ones, which I haven't, sorry, there is a brief moment after the whistle blows where you can either stop or keep going. And if you keep going, it almost always ends in a fight. And they're fun to watch. As a former skill player, it's a lot of fun to watch two big boys just go at it. But Jordan Jefferson and whoever he was going against begin fighting, and he takes the helmet off of a player and throws it into the not crowd, but the group of players standing behind him. Yeah, the helmet goes off camera. So I'm wondering, is that something that an NFL scout looks at and goes, hell yeah, that boy's got heart, he's got the dog in him, or is that this guy's not professional at all?
Okay, Brooks is saying the offensive lineman is from UConn. I don't know. I think it's kind of maybe a little bit of both. I definitely view it as like, that dude's got some nasty to him at least. Maybe that's probably something you definitely want down in the trenches for you, fighting for you every single down. But at the same time, like, I mean, we saw it with the Baltimore Ravens last week. You can't have penalties like that in football games. You can't have guys losing control of their emotions. The emotions got the best of the Baltimore Ravens in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And every single time they maybe had a big play happen, it seemed like they kept shooting themselves in the foot because a guy couldn't control his emotions. So I think it's something that you kind of have a double-edged sword to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, that's a plus, but at the same time, like, we kind of have to, like, maybe we have to go back and check, like, was this a regular thing with him? Was this something that LSU had to monitor with him throughout his career in college? So I think it both benefits you and harm you. I guess it really just depends on the type of person you are.
Yeah, I mean, if and the more I think about it, if George Pickens can throw a grown man into a brick wall and still be a second-round pick, I think that you can probably get away with throwing a guy's helmet.
Yeah.
But it probably isn't anything that's going to help you. I don't think that's going to have someone go, oh, my God, write that down. Look what that play he just made.
Write that down.
Yeah, SpongeBob meme. So we talked about Kalen DeBoer. This is probably the craziest story to come out of.
Oh, you didn't have any more Senior Bowl guys?
Who do we have? I mean, obviously the number one is Lad McConkey, but I didn't want to blow that.
Yeah,
away.
I mean, he's definitely. I had a couple more on my list that
Yeah.
I mentioned. The Quinion, I guess is how you pronounce it. Quinion Mitchell. They're saying that he may have cemented himself as potentially the number one defensive back, cornerback out of the draft class. And what a week for him to go out there and perform because, you know, coming into the draft, a lot of the talk, of course, is about Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, those two big names. And so for him to come out there in a setting where a lot of those other top defensive back prospects, I mean, Kamari Lassiter's not there either, for him to go out there and really etch it. I mean, we see, right, this is a prime example of just how important the Senior Bowl can be for you because, I mean, he might have just gave himself $10 million more dollars than he would have had if he didn't attend this event. I mean, he's been one of the top talked about defensive players this week. Seems like every single rep. Now, again, I think this is also something you have to be careful with the Senior Bowl is that you are just seeing singular clips. You're maybe not seeing an athlete's entire day. But if people are talking about players the way that they're talking about Mitchell, I mean, obviously he's showing out more than a lot of defensive players. And I think to show out in an event like this where it is hard to be a defensive back in some of these drills, I mean, you get put in some really tough situations. And a lot of the clips that I've seen of him have been him just dogging on people, locking them down. And he seems to have that alpha personality that you really want in a defensive back. And he certainly has made himself a lot of money this week.
Dude, we got a super chat.
Do we really?
Are we doing that good, or is it just you feel bad for us? But DGD Podcast says, I like this concept. Great job, guys. Free sub. So that'll be sorted out with Brooks. So whoever's watching.
Patreon.com/Brooks Austin. If you want to hop in on that action, then that's the place to be.
It's actually a lot of fun. There's a fun chat, a lot of fun things you can do. You can get a Brooks out of context chat room, which is literally just Brooks saying sus shit, which is a lot of fun, actually. I post in that regularly.
You know, I have people ask me about that all the time, like when we're doing our show or whatever, and they're like, when Brooks says things like that, like, what do you and Christian do? And I'm like, well, usually it's Christian starts giggling and he looks at me and then we both just sit over here giggling while Brooks is trying to finish his point. So you kind of just got a glimpse of what Brooks has to deal with on a daily basis with us, making fun of him, poking fun of him while he's trying to do business.
I'll tell you exactly what I do. Anytime he says something, I look down at my phone, I take a screenshot of the time, and I mark that as a timestamp as to when he said that in the episode, and then I go back and screen record it when I go home.
Yeah, he cuts up the clips on the car ride home, and we giggle about it for about the next hour until we approach our final destination. So,
yeah. So.
Another name that I had on my list of Senior Bowl standouts, Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, that was one I had.
I kind of put him in the Spencer Rattler realm of like in a really, really crappy situation. I mean, just not a whole lot of bright spots on that roster, but Ricky certainly was a bright spot. I mean, he arguably made the most impressive play during the college football season this last year with that one-handed catch over the middle of the field. That was absolutely insane. I mean, talking about putting respect on us white boy names, that he definitely did that one for us. So appreciate you for showing respect to the community.
Oh man.
And but I mean, how could you not be impressed with a guy like that though? I mean, he was impressive and he stepped up for Florida time and time again throughout the year. So for him to go out there alongside guys like Lad McConkey, just another prime opportunity for these wide receivers to really just showcase their route tree, showcase what they can do in one-on-one situations. That's a lot of what the NFL has become is can you win your one-on-ones? He certainly can do that, and he's been another big name that people have been raving about throughout the entire week.
Doing it for the brand, as you say.
Yes.
All right, so this is one of the crazier stories I want to get into because I think that it's not as much involved with college football, but it does somewhat tie back into it. I don't know if you've heard about the Brad Bohannon scandal. So Brad Bohannon was the head baseball coach at Alabama who was fired last year for his involvement in the gambling with the team.
Yeah.
He wasn't directly gambling, but he was giving tips to other gamblers, his friends, that basically was then discovered. He was fired, and he was just recently given a 15-year show cause order, which basically means that, from what I understand, for 15 years, you basically cannot be hired by anyone. If you are, he has to serve a 5-year suspension immediately. So basically, if you're going to hire Brad Bohannon, you can't hire him for 5 years, is what I understand from that.
Yeah,
but the details of this story are idiotic.
I'm going to read this. We do the reading, so you don't have to. So I'm going to do a little reading for you guys and just listen at this entire situation and realize just how crazy and stupid both of these individuals were throughout this entire process, okay? So it starts with this. Shortly after receiving the electronic messages from Bohannon, the bettor attempted to place a $100,000 wager on the LSU baseball team at the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, but the sportsbook staff limited the bettor to a $15,000 wager. The bettor then attempted to place additional wagers involving the April 28th Alabama versus LSU baseball game, but the sportsbook staff declined the wagers due to suspicious activity. This suspicious activity included the bettor's insistent demeanor to get the bet placed and statements to the sportsbook staff that the bet was for sure going to win, and if only you guys knew what I knew. The suspicious activity also included the bettor showing sportsbook staff messages from Bohannon and explaining that the messages were Bohannon informing bettor that Alabama was scratching its starting pitcher before the game and before Bohannon alerted LSU.
So basically, this guy, his name is Eugene Neff. His name is Eugene Neff.
There's a name to this individual now.
Yes.
Even better.
He's facing up to 10 years in prison because of what that is. So basically what it was him and Bohannon are friends, from what I understand. He was texting Brad Bohannon like, hey, what's going on with this game? How are y'all going to do? I'm trying to bet. Brad Bohannon goes, hey, we're benching the starting pitcher. Go ahead and put a bunch on LSU. This other guy, he sucks. We're not going to win. Put the house on LSU. So Eugene Neff then goes and decides, I'm going to put the house on LSU. Tries to make a $150,000 bet.
$100,000
bet.
On college baseball.
Sportsbooks say, no, you can't do that. That's crazy. What's wrong with you? He goes, no, look, you have to understand. I have evidence that Alabama's going to win, and shows a text from the head coach talking about, yeah, you should bet on LSU because we're benching the pitcher. Eugene Neff might be one of the biggest dummies.
They're both dummies. But yeah, Eugene absolutely fumbled the bag for him and everybody. And I mean, I would imagine that Bohannon certainly feels some type of way about Eugene and the way they. But first off, why are you texting Eugene about this bet? Like, you know what you're doing is illegal. You know what you're doing is wrong. Why are you leaving a trail, a paper trail of yourself of giving this information? Like, if anything, let's do a phone call. Like, let's have this conversation over a phone call so that there isn't this text message trail. So a dum-dum like Eugene cannot go, well, look, Bohannon told me that the pitcher isn't playing, so I need to put the house on this. Like, both sides were stupid. Like, you don't need to be showing like, I just don't understand. I really don't.
Not only is he in trouble for that, he's facing up to 10 years in federal prison and a fine of no more than $250,000 for destroying evidence, tampering with witnesses, and providing false statements to the FBI. So this guy basically outed his friend, got his friend fired, suspended for 15 years, and then when he was testifying and being questioned about that, lied and was tampering with witnesses. I mean, this is a true Dumb and Dumber type scenario.
So I guess the witnesses in this situation are the sports betting employees, I would assume.
I guess I don't necessarily know.
I mean that's basically like the only witnesses I could think of.
Or he could be like, "Hey, listen, if this person asked you, I wasn't betting.
Never here.
He never told me about LSU. That's someone took my phone." I mean, we don't know what happened, but just an absolutely idiotic thing to do.
This is a prime example of why Prize Picks needs to be your sports betting home. To avoid things like this, to avoid trouble, to where you can just do it on your phone, get it done real quick, and there you go. You don't have to go through a handler or anything like that. So if you are using Prize Picks, definitely use promo code Brooks and get that deposit match every single time you use it. Get in on that action. But I mean, to have the Kayshon Boutte story happen this week, and then on top of that, you get this Brad Bohannon story as well. I mean, who knows what other stories lie out there that we're going to eventually figure out down the road about this. But again, like if you know what you're doing is illegal, let's just have some smarts about it. Let's maybe study up on situations. I don't know how you study up on situations like this, but
not even that. And I want this to be a public address to any athlete or any coach for whatever reason, if you're listening right now. These leagues have made it so clear that the most important thing to them above all else is maintaining the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
That involves gambling or anything like that. When players gamble, the integrity of the game is then come into question, and it hurts the product as a whole. They cannot have that. It's why guys can have guns in their car. They can drink and drive. They can get arrested. They can do pretty outlandish shit to women and still sometimes be employed. We've seen it with Greg Hardy. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it with the Alabama player that was going 100 miles an hour, had weed and a gun in his car, still on the team. Things like that. You're not going to be as harshly punished for this as you would for gambling. Do I agree with that? No, but that's the way it is. Time and time again, you've seen that. So you would think with all these hardcore punishments and with these leagues, NCAA, NFL, NBA, coming down on and basically saying this is the number one sin you cannot do. I mean, Calvin Ridley placed like $8,000 worth of bets and got suspended for an entire season. There have been guys that have done a lot worse than that and get way less. So the idea, you just had to duck under the mic.
Yeah, because I was trying to read the box score. I wanted to see who won the game. I wanted to see
LSU won the game.
Yeah, okay.
LSU won the game. The bet cash. So I mean, it's good advice.
But it was a close game at least. Like when you're like the final score was 8-6 LSU. But when you're reading about the situation, I mean, Bohannon is obviously making out like, dude, we're about to get donkey stomped. Like, we got no chance in this game. Like, I'm giving you a free bet to go cash in. And the final score was 8-6. In fact, let's see what the score was there late in the game. Okay, Alabama scored 4 runs in the 9th inning. So oh man, Bohannon had to be sweating bullets there in the last inning. Like, all right, guys, that was fun. Let's chill out a little bit. Like, come on now, we don't need this win that badly. Like, let's call the dogs off now. All right, we'll give them this one.
But yeah, so the bottom line, if you're involved in any professional or organized sports that you can be gambled on, and you play or you coach in them or you referee them, don't gamble. And if you do, don't leave a paper trail. Don't make your username and password your first and last name. There has to be smarter ways to do this if you're going to do it, but I would highly recommend not doing it. You make millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as is. Like, NIL is a thing now. You can get paid to play if you're a college athlete. You don't need to be gambling on games, risking the entire career. I mean, is Keyshawn Boutte going to have a career after this? No.
It doesn't seem like it, no. I mean, Brooks is talking about in the comment section right now, bringing up a great point about how Ray Rice got 2 games before the video was public.
Yeah.
And we're seeing these guys get massive suspensions, spending time in prison for gambling on sports. I mean, we know it's across multiple leagues. I mean, Pete Rose, for crying out loud, is not in the MLB Hall of Fame because he gambled on sports. And he was at least betting on himself and his own team to win and do well. But we see the massive amount of effect that these things can have, and like the massive amount of suspensions that you can have, and a 15-year show clause order that you can have attached to your name because of things like this. I mean, eventually, it's got to get to the point where everybody agrees it's just not worth it, because every single league, every single organization or whoever takes it very, very seriously, more seriously than a lot of other things that probably need more attention and need harsher punishments for. But sports betting is basically the last thing you want to be doing if you're in the sports world, you're an athlete, you're a coach, or whoever.
Yeah, dude, just go to blackjack, go to the craps table, go to a different league.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, like, if you're an MLB player, surely you can bet on the NBA.
Well, LeBron James is getting this deal with DraftKings where this coming year he's going to be posting his picks for every single NFL game every single week. I don't think that should be allowed. I think that's pretty crazy to even think about, like LeBron James posting betting picks. And you want to talk about conspiracy theory tinfoil hat or whatever about rigging games or whatnot. But, I mean, I think that's pretty – but, yeah, LeBron James is going to have a deal next year with DraftKings where he's picking on NFL games.
Yeah, so I don't understand betting on the sport that you play. It seems so stupid.
Yeah, it's definitely not the brightest thing you can do for sure. But and again, though, if you are going to do it, like don't make it so obvious.
Don't be such an idiot. Yeah.
Don't be such a dum-dum about this.
So is Chip Kelly just going to leave UCLA on his own terms?
This is such a – because, I mean, 2 months ago we were sitting here like –
we were talking about this man is a dead man walking. He's getting fired at the end of the season. Then he goes and beats USC.
Yep.
And it kind of just coasted to the end of the season for that. And now he's up for, what is it, the
The Commanders' offensive job.
Coordinator position. So it's like, is he going to get poached and hired out when halfway through the season last year we were sure he was fired?
I mean, Chip Kelly's definitely one of those guys that's just always have reeked of the NFL, right? Like,
he's definitely an NFL guy, but to me it's also like, again, it comes back to this, what's going on in college football where you see these guys that are in the or in college doing well at big programs, and now they say, I'm going to go for all extensive purposes take a demotion at a different league.
I think it just goes to show, like, if you're going to come out and make a statement that, all right, Chip Kelly going to be fired if he wins this weekend, we're going to hold off on that. We're not going to do it after he wins a football game. But you better follow through at some point if you're going to make a claim like that, because if not, you can't. I mean, that immediately taints a relationship between you and your athletic department or whoever. I mean, you can't come out there and say something like that about your head coach and expect him to just be like, hey, buddy, we're still good, right? Like, we were just messing around. We were just having some fun with one another. We weren't being serious. Like, we still want you to be here. You ended on a good note. We believe in you, even though we said we wanted to fire you. I mean, I just think there's almost no coming back from that. And so, especially for someone like Chip Kelly, if an offensive coordinating job is going to come open and an organization is interested in him, then I feel like he's going to jump all over that.
Yeah, if I'm seeing a couple people in chat ask where Brooks is. So if you're wondering where Brooks is, he's sitting over there right now. He's taking a nap. He's not feeling well, but his family's feeling a lot worse. He decided he was going to get them sick over the week, so he's upstairs taking care of them. And he gave us the keys to the car, and we're just trying to not wreck it right now. If you're in chat, ask some questions to us. We'll answer them. I mean, we're
Q&A session.
Yeah, why not, dude? We don't have anything else going on.
Section.
What was the other thing I was going to ask? Oh, Iowa.
Yeah, well, is this about the Caden Proctor stuff?
Yeah, so Iowa has self-reported a violation of what? Let me look it up.
I saw the headline, but I can't remember what it was. I saw it right before we got on the show. But basically what the headline was talking about is that Iowa has come out and self-reported a recruiting violation involving Caden Proctor and the recruitment there, because he transferred in this offseason to go to Iowa. So I guess they self-reported some violation that they committed.
It's a self-reporting of a level 3 tampering violation regarding Kalen Proctor. So I don't know what the different levels are. I don't know if it's like level 1 is basically like you came, you kidnapped and threw me in the back of the van. Like you're in our team now. But I'd have to assume level 3 is probably not as
send a text
bad.
message or something?
Yeah, but I would also have to assume that if they were self-reporting a level 3, it was probably closer to a level 2 or a 1.
It's interesting that this is, because everybody knows, and if you don't know, then I don't know where you've been, but everybody knows that tampering happens everywhere, every program, whatever. I mean, it's clear as day that it happens when you got a kid entering the portal next day. Oh, crystal ball to here, this is where he's probably going to end up. Or even if a kid commits the day after entering the transfer portal, you know what's going on.
Right.
But I think it's interesting that this is one that's hit the news cycle, and this is one that Iowa feels like they need to self-report because, I mean, everybody knew as soon as Caden Proctor hit the portal. I mean, no one even needed to mention tampering or anything like that. Everybody was like, oh, that kid's definitely going to Iowa. Like, there's no question about it. That kid was going to go to Iowa to begin with until he went to Alabama. And so now that this is happening, definitely going to go to Iowa. So I thought it was really interesting that this is the one of all things that got put in the news cycle and that Iowa's going to self-report. But I guess Iowa's like, we just got to keep our nose clean around here.
That is something I've noticed where because everyone's breaking the rules nowadays. If you're a team and you break the rules and it's kind of like, hey, shit might hit the fan here. Go ahead, self-report, be as compliant as you can be with the NCAA, and then be like, oh, yeah, you made our job so much easier. Because obviously the NCAA's job regarding investigating this shit is hard. They're still investigating Jim Harbaugh for the hamburger situation, and they haven't even gotten to the sign stealing, which was the scandal of the century, it seems like. So it takes a while to do these investigations. So if you practically do the NCAA's job for you, they're like, all right, slap on the wrist. So that's kind of the way to go. Self-reporting might be the best thing to do when you're going to tampering.
Yeah, I mean, we see Georgia do it pretty often. I mean, pretty much right when the offseason hits, you'll kind of hear these rumblings about Georgia's going to self-report quite a few different violations. And it's typically pretty small, minor ones of a coach being on the field when he isn't supposed to or things like that, or having a phone call with an athlete or whatever. So it's definitely better just to go ahead and get ahead of the game, get ahead of the ball, and just go ahead and let the NCAA like, hey, we know we broke some rules. We're going to go ahead and let you know that. We're going to handle this eternally, whatever. Just, probably wouldn't do it the way that Tennessee does it and be loud about it. Let everybody know what's going on. and then pull the victim card out when it's like, whoa, what do you mean we're getting in trouble for this? After we said that we spent $8 million on a 5-star athlete that nobody was supposed to know about and whatever. So, like, definitely just better to be upfront about it. That's kind of what we've come to learn about all of this is if you're kind of have this mutual relationship with the NCAA and you keep your nose clean, then you're going to be all right. You're probably going to stay out of these massive suspensions or bowl bans or whatever else the NCAA wants to deal out to you.
Yeah, I mean, like we saw this with Tennessee a couple years ago with the McDonald's thing. They self-reported a bunch, and they still got kind of slapped, but it was mostly put on one guy and Jeremy Pruitt, where it was like, hey, thanks for complying. Yeah, Jeremy Pruitt was a problem. We fired him, so that's not an issue anymore. We don't need any tough suspensions. But looks like we have a first question in the chat. Not college football, but what are your thoughts on the Corbin Burner trade? Zachary Moss, I don't watch baseball like that. Jay Will, do you have anything to put on?
Did this happen today?
I don't know. I'm not a baseball
I know that
guy,
my baseball buddy sent me a text during the show, so I'm assuming that's what he was mentioning to me. But I'll give a quick Google about this. Love it when our audience brings us breaking news.
I don't even know.
Brewers trade former Cy Young winner Burns to the Orioles. Okay, yeah, that is some pretty substantial news. Corbin Burns is definitely one of the top pitchers in Major League Baseball. The Orioles, one of the most exciting teams in all. I mean, the Orioles were a dumpster fire for the longest time. I mean, a putrid MLB organization, but they got a lot of young talent now. Then you add in a veteran like Corbin Burns, again a Cy Young winner. That team is definitely a force to be had in the AL for the MLB. So Orioles, a lot to be excited about. That's a big, massive trade here, right? As the season is ramping up, the best time of year for sports, inching closer and closer every single day.
Do you think we ever get to an era in college football where trades become a thing? I mean, obviously you have to go revenue split first, pay to play.
Crazy. Trading players in college?
I mean, you somewhat do it now with the tampering that goes on. Like, a player's leaving before it happens.
Golly.
Like, I think very rarely are programs sideswiped by someone entering the portal.
Man, I don't know if I would ever envision that happening in college football, because it would get very, very, very messy, especially considering, like, these are players that you were recruiting in high school. These are players that you were claiming that you wanted, and then, like, if you were just be like, oh, by the way, you're out of here. We're shipping you off to somewhere that you don't want to go.
Yeah, but I mean,
a program you don't want to be with. And there's just way too many factors that play into this for college athletes. You can't just tell a player he has to go somewhere. I mean, that's definitely not how it works.
It's definitely not realistic, but it is interesting to think about how you wake up one day and the starting wide receiver of one team is now just say, like, hypothetically, just say you woke up today and was like, Georgia trades Gunnar Stockton for Caleb Downs. Like, what the hell would that do to the college football media world?
Fleeced.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's the first.
Georgia in trouble with QB depth even more now. That's what the conversation would be. Yeah, as fun of a conversation as that is to have, I pray that we don't ever get in a position where we're freaking trading college athletes.
That is kind of funny, though, to be like, yeah, I'm going to play for the University of Georgia, and then you get shipped off.
You're going to Hawaii, buddy. Pack your bags.
I mean, Hawaii's not even the worst place you go. I was thinking more like Purdue or Minnesota.
Hey, a couple dogs went up to Purdue. I guess it's not that bad.
No, or Minnesota. Like, imagine being like, I'm going to join one of the most prestigious college football programs in the country, and then 12 months later, you're enacted in a cult. Like, that would be crazy.
How are you feeling today, Christian?
What is it, elite?
Elite.
I'm elite, coach.
That's it. You don't need to say.
Can you say I'm not elite, coach?
I don't know. Mental health is important, so they better be able to.
Yeah,
let you know if you're not feeling elite.
I feel like a lot of those are just tall tales of PJ Fleck. Like, I feel like you cannot actually get away with punishing someone for being like, "Hey, how you feeling? Oh, you didn't say elite." Up downs right now.
Up-downs.
You've got 3 100s when you get off practice.
My gosh, I can't. Oof. Yeah, I don't know. That weird stuff going on in Minnesota, I guess.
Oh, here's one. Can Branson Robinson have a Chubb-esque career?
I mean, he's certainly on the same timeline of it a little bit, as killer as the injury that he had, having to battle back from that. If he can return to that form that we saw his true freshman year. I know that this is the NBR hour, but I mean, potentially. I mean, obviously, I think we all know that the talent is there. It's just going to be a matter of him rehabbing that injury and getting his feet back under him and getting comfortable back into the flow of the game.
The answer is yes, and the answer is no at the same time. Branson Robinson can absolutely come back and be 100% of what he was prior to his injury. He can absolutely be one of the feature backs in this offense. The answer is no, in the fact that what you were doing with that offense under Chubb and when you had Sonny Michel is something that you're never going to see. I'm not going to say never, but not going to see at Georgia football, at least while he's there. The way you ran the ball with Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb, the way you basically lived in that two-back scenario where it was run on first, run on second, throw on third if we have to, you're not going to see that at Georgia football anymore. That's not what Mike Bobo does. That's not what Todd Monken did. And the offense you can see now is predicated on that. I mean, you've got Carson Beck throwing more than 30 times. What happened, like 7 games last year?
Yeah.
I mean, prior to that, if that was a death sentence for Georgia. So, no, you're not going to see Chubb-esque like career from Branson Robinson. He's definitely has the potential to be as healthy as he can be and be a great Georgia running back. But I don't think he's going to be the next Nick Chubb because your offense was completely different when you had Nick Chubb.
I got a question for you. I'll throw in a Q&A.
Bring it.
Who's going to be the worst team in college football next year? I mean, we talk about often.
We talked about this.
Did we talk? Did we get to hit on it?
Yeah,
or not?
I said Arizona.
Arizona. You think they're going to be that?
No, I didn't say Arizona. I said Virginia.
Okay. Oh, Virginia. That's not a bad one.
They've been 3-win teams for the last 3 seasons. They've got the same head coach. I mean, the ACC stinks, but they're still like I don't see what's. They have the 65th recruiting class right now. Like things aren't looking up in any way.
The one I picked was Arizona State. I think Arizona State has a chance to be very well could be the worst college football program in 2024. I mean, I think that on the two deep on both sides of the football, they have like 19 graduate seniors this last year on the roster. Mm-hmm. And then they're going into the transfer portal and they're bringing in, I think it is 28 guys from the transfer portal. The recruiting class ranked like 68th in the country. Not a lot of good stuff going on for Arizona State right now. They're under some coach. I think they got a new offensive coordinator coming in. There's just a lot of things going against the Sun Devils, and they're also changing conferences. That's going to play a role in this as well, of having to travel and just adjust to the new climate of college football. I think that they are set up for absolute disaster out there at Arizona State, just between the roster, the coaching staff movements, and what they're going to have to go through, again, with the traveling week to week and just, getting accustomed to what their new regimen and what their new schedule is for college football.
I think it's going to be kind of fascinating for me to watch over the next few years. How are the have-nots ever going to be successful again? Like, obviously, your blue bloods are going to be fine. Your middle of the road schools are going to ascend to a point where they're even better now because they can go in the transfer portal. They can sign NIL players and get more talent. But are the teams that were kind of always just, we're 7-5, are they ever going to be okay again? I mean, I feel like more and more there's just teams that just habitually suck.
Yeah.
More than ever. And I might be wrong in that. Like, Vanderbilt's never been great. You've had teams in the ACC that have never been great. Northwestern, Rutgers, they've never been powerhouse programs. But I feel like back in the day, Arizona State, Virginia Tech, they used to put out respectable rosters. Is it that they're just going through slumps right now and they can't get hires right? Or is it the fact that if you're a talented player or if someone is a 5-star or a 4-star or a fringe 3-star, they're immediately getting picked up by NIL?
Yeah, I think that what's kind of happened with teams like that, teams you just listed off, is you're never going to be consistently good maybe anymore because, I mean, I think the transfer portal both helps you and it hurts you, because where it helps you is obviously you can hit for one season and you can have a really successful season to your standards and you can be really good. But we all kind of know what happens with players who end up like if Virginia Tech finds a 3-star in their own state or wherever and he's on nobody's radar, but Virginia Tech sniffs him out and finds him before anybody else, and that kid commits to Virginia Tech, has a stellar true freshman season, like all conference, borderline All-American, up for national awards, whatever. That kid's not going to stay at Virginia Tech probably. That kid is immediately one of the hottest names in the transfer portal. Teams are going to be tampering. They're going to be saying, hey, how you like Virginia Tech up there? We see what you're doing. We're respecting what you're doing. How about you consider us this offseason? Maybe we could even help you get further in your career. So while the transfer portal helps Virginia Tech in the sense of they can now find other players who fill out their roster, and maybe they could build up – I keep using Virginia Tech as an example because that was one you mentioned, but other schools in this realm of – you can have one successful season at the same time, like these players that you do hit on, these gems that you find, or these diamonds in the rough or whatever. One good season with you, and they're going to get poached by someone else, and they're going to be finishing their college football career elsewhere.
Yeah, the rich getting richer. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up for NBR. It's 8:54. Now, we'll be back with the local hour. Don't worry.
Right now, yeah, coming right up. Got a whole nother hour.
Yeah, don't worry.
Stuff.
We'll see you in, 60 seconds maybe?
Something like that.
I got to go fix Brooks.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Hey, he's back.
Back from his nap.
Brooks Bot. I just figured out the name for him, Brooks Bot. So, welcome into the local hour. Dude, did you see me break the freaking mic stand?
Yeah, well, I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on.
I literally just went to adjust it like this, and this piece popped off. So,
well, as soon as I saw you fiddling with your mic over there, I was like, dude, we are 10 minutes into this. The lav mic was having some issues or whatever. Was trying to figure that out. Christian's over there breaking his mic. I was like, we're never going to get to do this again. Like we were already botching it 10 minutes in. But hey, we recovered. I feel like that you guys enjoyed it, or I hope you guys enjoyed that last hour. Now we're getting ready to talk that dog. You brought in this first segment, and I feel like I don't know exactly what your stance on this. I think I know what your stance is on this, but why don't you introduce this first segment that we got? Also, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've been joining in lately, again, Brooks not here on a leave of absence because he's still recovering from being sick, but the boys are holding the fort down for you guys, and we're going to keep on rolling into this Talk the Dog hour.
You talking about the first segment about Florida State?
Florida State, yeah.
I wanted to save that one.
You want to save that one?
I want to save that one. I want to talk about how beer is coming to Sanford Stadium this year.
Beer?
So
I like beer.
I'm sure everyone knows by now, in 2024, the University of Georgia is going to permit beer sales in Sanford Stadium. They had already allowed it in Stegman and other places like that.
Foley Field.
At the baseball games. But now it's allowed in Sanford Stadium. And this got celebrated by a lot of people, and it got praised, and people are excited about it, and I don't get it. You're going to pay $9 for a beer. I mean,
ooh, yeah. It's a steep price. I'll tell you, if I'm ever in any of the other facilities, I'm definitely only probably getting one because a student account like myself cannot handle multiple. It's a steep price. I'm sure a lot of people don't want to pay.
You know what $9 gets you?
Tell me.
9 Fireball shooters that you can shove in someone's boot.
Sounds like you've known this information for quite a while.
I don't. I've never done that.
You've never done that?
No, dude, absolutely not. But no,
other people maybe. Not us.
It's exciting the prospect that you can go into the concession stands and buy a beer, but the idea that we're gonna just spend 2 beers for $18. I don't even drink beer, and that sounds like an awful deal. And hell, maybe it might be 7, maybe it might be 5, but
it definitely sucks. Plus, I think some people are a little terrified of the image of Georgia fans drinking all day and then going into the stadium and drinking more, which, yeah, understandable. I get it for sure, but I also think that because everybody drinks everybody's gotten in this routine now of tailgating beforehand and having their fun and making their drinks and just having a good time and making the most of the day. And plus, Georgia fans love football so much and they love college football so much. I find it hard to believe that there's going to be a bunch of Georgia fans just spending time in the concession line getting beer instead of sitting in their seats watching the actual game.
I can assure you this. There's not one Georgia fan out of the 92,000 that have sat in Sanford Stadium that saw this news and go, thank God I can finally drink alcohol in the stadium. I've waited so long for this. I've been waiting to be able to purchase a beer at the game. I've wanted to have alcohol in there for so long. I feel like that would make the game so much more fun. No, if you wanted to drink at Sanford Stadium, you were shithoused by halftime.
Yeah.
Like it's not that hard to sneak alcohol in. It's not going to be that much harder to do so now. Look, buy the beer, support the university. The revenue goes back. It's great. I think LSU reported that this year they had $3 million in just alcohol revenue from games alone.
Sheesh.
So I mean, it obviously works. But I'm amongst the group that this isn't going to change a lot of things for the people that were packing fireball shooters in their boots or sneaking flasks in their waistband, the mustard bottle. So I'm not
Mustard bottles? Never heard that one.
What do you think got thrown at Lane? Why do you think someone brought a mustard bottle into a stadium?
Dude, Tennessee fans are weird. Honestly,
But that's why.
That part never crossed my mind, though, that it was filled with alcohol.
He's not doing college right then, brother.
Dude, that's gross.
You wash it out.
If you're down that bad that you need to bring in a mustard bottle, like there's so many other things that you could use, but you used a mustard bottle.
Look, alcoholism does not count while you're in college.
Just like drunk cigs don't count for most people, I guess.
Drunk cigs don't count. Alcohol, you can't be an alcoholic when you're in college. Those are the two rules.
So here's my question about this whole thing. What game over the last 20 years or whatever, do you think alcohol being sold at the stadium would have just made it absolute, like, holy crap, what an absolute fest that was?
Ooh, all right, let me think.
There was one game that immediately came to my mind.
What was yours?
And it's because of the combination of fans that you would have had in Sanford Stadium, the magnitude of the game, and just the overall result of the game.
Wait. Let's say it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
2013.
Okay.
I said 2013 LSU.
That's a good one.
2013 LSU. You got a bunch of freaking swamp monsters coming into the stadium, and then you also got the dogs, and the absolute, again, the magnitude of that game and how just insane that game was. There would have been quite a few drunk, obnoxious college football fans in that stadium.
I've got a different one. I've got 2016 Tennessee, the infamous Dobbs nail boot. That was a great game, first of all the way through, and the ending would have made most any Georgia fan want to perpetually drink. And Tennessee fans and drink in celebration. I remember I was 15, 14 years old, and I almost got into a fight with a 6-year-old. I was stone cold sober,
6-year-old.
60.
Oh.
6-0.
That's not much better. I think it may have been better if it was a 6-year-old.
Could you imagine if I beat the hell out of an old person because of a football game? But no, just that I think that's a good one. I think 2022 LSU or Tennessee would have been a great one as well.
Yeah, that I said that. So I didn't really count losses because the thing about losses is they're not selling alcohol probably at the start of the fourth quarter or something like that.
True, I didn't.
So by the time you know that the games at hand, like a loss that you could pick is the 2015 Alabama game because that game was freaking over from the get-go, but it was also pouring down rain, so people probably aren't looking forward to drinking beer and pouring down rain. But I did say the 2019 Kentucky game because that game was absolutely miserable. There was nothing better to do than drink because it was basically like watching paint dry on Sanford Stadium. I mean, that game was horrible.
Being a student in 2019 and going to home games must have been tough. You had the monsoon in 202019. Texas A&M was another.
It was monsoon. I was at that one.
Yeah,
Notre Dame was like the only good one you got.
Yeah, a bunch of rain. And that game didn't really it was a good game. Didn't live up to the hype. Dude, shout out DGD Podcast again for a free beer for the stadium.
Beer in the stadium.
It will not go to beer. I'll tell you that. It'll go to other forms of alcohol that will be smuggled in. But thank you very much. Wait, what am I doing? I get a media pass now. I can't do that.
Yeah, dude, we can't be drinking on the job.
You're right. Thank you for the donation.
We appreciate it. What else? Gosh, I mean, yeah.
Another first blackout.
Oh.
No.
I thought you were asking me what was your first blackout.
No, 2007 Auburn. Bro. 2007 Auburn would have been the first official blackout.
Oh my gosh.
That's my bad, guys. I wasn't talking about actually blacking out.
I was like,
first official blackout would have been an insane one, probably.
Yeah, I said that if Georgia, Florida ever gets to a home and home, dude,
that's dangerous.
that would the stadium might run out of beer.
My dad told me stories of the 1995 time when they did, because they did have they renovated the Jacksonville Stadium in 95 and 96, I believe. So they did a home and home.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what they've been talking about doing now. But 95 was also the same year that the Braves won the World Series. And he told me a story that the Braves either clinched or won the World Series the night Georgia played Florida in Athens. And Florida beat the shit out of Georgia. And he said, that was the only time I've seen a riot in my life. Like, you had Georgia fans on one side of the sidewalk and Florida fans on the other side come together and fight. He said he saw a tree on fire, a guy drinking a handle of whiskey, holding on to the tree that was on fire. People were flipping cars. So I can only imagine what would happen. Actually, you know what? It might not be as bad now.
Yeah.
I feel like Florida fans have kind of chilled out.
Maybe.
And I feel like you can get away with a lot less than you could in the 90s.
Oh, definitely. Probably. Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah, no doubt about that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously a pretty big change, one that people have kind of been asking for. But I think if anything now, I think it may even make people tailgate a little, not tailgate less, but their pregame ritual or whatever, it may be toned down a little bit more because they know once they get into the stadium, they're going to be having 3 to 4 more drinks. So I don't think it's going to have this drastic impact on your viewing of the game. And if it does, then that person just sucks. Like if you just get next to one of those people, they have their own problems. But I don't think it's going to be like this mass amount of people just having an issue with alcohol and ruining the viewing experience of the football game or anything like that. At least I pray it doesn't get to that point. If it does, then again, people got their own problems that they need to be dealing with anyways.
Yeah, so some more good news from the state of Georgia. The Senate Bill 386 passed today. Now, it still has to go in referendum in front of the House, but basically that means that come November, Georgia's citizens and residents will be able to vote on the legalization of sports gambling. So essentially it's up to you now if you want it to happen. I'm not going to try to sway you either way.
I was about to say, you better start a campaign.
This isn't a political.
Christian Kirby needs your vote this fall.
I did not say that. This isn't a political podcast at all. Brooks would fire us if we did. Dude. All right. But honestly, think about it, though. Brooks not here. Just Brooks not here. We come over, we take down, and we just start political campaigning.
I'll leave.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it either. But
I would head out the door.
It would be a funny bit to do. But no, that is actually big news though, because if gambling becomes legal in the state of Georgia, there's a lot to come after it. It won't be legal for players. We've already talked about that. Coaches, don't share information with your friends that are going to then go tell. No, look what he told me. This is why it's going to win. So don't.
So here's my question about this. Then, like, do you think a place like, because this would allow like casinos and stuff like that to be.
It allows sports books. It doesn't allow like casinos like you see in Vegas. Okay. It allows basically online sports books like DraftKings, FanDuel.
So you no longer have to go around the location type deal thing.
Yeah, it's more online for anything for sports.
Okay, because I was gonna ask, like, do you think a place like Athens gets a casino because it is a college campus? But if they can't build them, then it's a moot point. But I was wondering, like, with there being college athletes on campus, I would wonder if they would avoid doing things like that in a college city, which I would assume that they probably would. But at the same time,
I think parents and legislators would shit a brick if someone proposed bringing a casino to the city of Athens. I mean, the city of Athens has got enough going on. I promise you. It does not need a casino.
Little do they know what their little Timmy and Tommy are doing in accounting class every day.
Yeah, I mean, half of
they're just cooking up parlays, Charlene, all right?
Any single frat is a casino. Like, at any college.
That $200 a week thing. That $200 a week that you're sending them for studying tools and books and whatnot, that ain't going to studying tools and books or anything like that. It's going to their weekend parlays that they are absolutely not hitting on, except for maybe once a year. So hate to break the news to you, but that's just the truth, All
right. So to kind of, I did a name that Bulldog to kind of freshen things up for us.
Like some trivia.
So before we do that, before we move on to our next segment, I kind of want to knock out the name that Bulldog because I feel like it is kind of relevant. So this Bulldog played under Mark Richt.
Okay.
I've got 4 hints.
Long time period.
Yeah. Okay. He wore a single-digit jersey number.
Still not really helping me yet.
He played defense.
Okay.
And this is the big hint. He would play for 3 separate teams in his college career.
Okay. That's the big hint?
That's the big hint.
Oh, gosh.
And maybe I'm just remembering this person for a weird reason. And he started as a true freshman in 2013.
Okay, 2013, that's a big one. True freshman, 2013.
Maybe not true freshman, but he was a freshman.
He was a freshman. Single digit, 3 different NFL teams. Oh, gosh.
Not NFL teams, collegiate teams.
Collegiate teams.
He's played for 3 collegiate teams during his career.
Shaq Wiggins.
There it is.
Don't even ask me how. Actually, I'll tell you exactly why I know that. I know that name. I got to go to I went to a Georgia football game with my dad, and he was athletic director in GHSA. So, like, for one Georgia football game we got to sit with all the high school recruits and whatnot. After the game, we got to go talk to some of the players, and Shaq Wiggins was the first player that came up to me and talked to me. So I always remember his name now because he took the time to come out and talk to me. But, yeah, wow, I can't – You remember him like that too?
So I remember Shaq Wiggins because he would used to do Instagram lives. This was like the first, like when first Instagram Live first came out. He would do Instagram lives of him playing NCAA 14 and like being himself, and he would always get shit on because his overall in the game was like a 70. He was like, "Damn, bro, this game ain't got me right." So that's how I remember Shaq Wiggins. So that was a little fun.
That's
story
great. That's a good callback, man. I'm honestly shocked I got that one because at first I was like, I can't even begin to think about defensive players from that era because defense really wasn't all that great back then. It wasn't very memorable. That's
the truest of Georgia fans will remember that name.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so
so I know he went to Louisville. Where else did he go?
Louisville,
Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Okay, yeah.
Javon Wims is the one on that 41-0 game. Javon Wims caught the first touchdown pass over him.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
That's what made me sound like, wait a minute, Shaq Wiggins is still playing?
Wiggins.
So, yeah. All right. This is the kind of the big segment I was hinting at earlier. So, the Florida State fan base has done some elite trolling over the weekend. We all know the Senior Bowl is taking place this weekend. There's been a bunch of viral clips coming out so far. A group of players have been making waves. Lab McConkey got a lot of steam on his draft candidacy. There's been a lot of players that have really helped their draft stock. But a group of players that have been making waves more than usual is Florida State players, most of them who did not play in the Orange Bowl. Now, there's one clip in particular that has caused a lot of media members, Danny Cannell, and a lot of Florida State fans to come out and say, look, seeing this and seeing that this guy, it was a clip of Johnny Wilson going up against, I believe it was Tyke Smith.
Yeah.
He beats Tyke Smith on a one-on-one, has a really good double move, and people will then say, you know what, seeing this clip, the fact that Johnny Wilson didn't play, the fact that we didn't have Keon Coleman, the fact that Jordan Travers was hurt, I'm convinced Florida State beats Georgia if we're all healthy and there's no opt-outs. Now, naturally, the Georgia fan base has responded accordingly, and I don't blame you. I mean, to egregiously say that, to say a 60-point victory is swayed by a handful of players that opted out is egregious. But Georgia fans, I am urging you to not engage with things like these. Like, I promise you it's not going to help. Why? One, because you've already won the game. There's nothing a Florida State fan, an Ohio State fan, an Alabama fan that can say anything that'll delegitimize what you've accomplished. They can say Jamison Williams, Marvin Harrison, oh, if those guys don't get hurt, Georgia doesn't have his 2 natties. That's fine. You know what you say? Oh, I have this beautiful trophy right here. And when I get tired of looking at this one, I'll look at the other one. You don't need to engage with this because then when you do, all that you're opening it up to is being labeled as insecure or, oh, Georgia fans, it's so easy to get on their skin. It's so easy to troll them. I don't think there's genuinely a Florida State fan that believes that Florida State goes out and wins the Orange Bowl if they have a fully healthy, fully loaded team. Maybe there are some that truly believe that. But they have nothing to lose by saying that. They can't change 63-3, but they can make you keep talking about it. That game was what, a month ago now?
Yeah.
We're going
on the dot.
We're going on a month of this game happening, and virtually everything that Johnny Wilson, Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman, you name the players that didn't play, anytime they do something, it's now because you can say, hey, wait a minute. Wait. You're telling me that 63-3 happened? No. We would have absolutely won that game if it doesn't happen, if we have a fully healthy team. Horns down is only a big deal because when someone does it, a Texas fan pisses their pants and foams at the mouth for 15 minutes. If you let all these, oh, you won because Jamison Williams got hurt, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, if they don't opt out, you don't beat Florida State, you only have a national championship because you hurt Marvin Harrison on a dirty cheap shot. If you don't engage with that, it goes away. It's the same for Texas, by the way. If Texas fans see this and go, it doesn't bother me that much anymore, I guarantee you don't have signs about it. People aren't doing it in the home games. People aren't trolling you online, but because of the fact that you keep engaging with it. So next time you see a Florida, because it's going to happen again, next time you see Johnny Wilson make a nice catch or Jordan Travis, if he has a great NFL career, and someone says, hey, you know what? That Orange Bowl, not legit. Georgia fans, you didn't really win that game. You faced a shell of our team. Don't even engage with it because you're only giving them power. Is that the angle you thought I was going to take with it?
No, honestly, no. I didn't think that that's the angle you were going to take with that one. I think that rule needs to be applied to every Danny Cannell tweet because Danny Cannell is seeking that type of engagement every single tweet that he makes. So just mute him or whatever you need to do to avoid that, but he's really good at doing that. He does a great job of getting that engagement. But if you are going to respond, all I'd say is, well, dang, if Johnny Wilson's worth 60 points, then Brock Bowers got to be worth at least 200.
Well,
right?
even then, so like, yes, you can play that game, but you're only opening the door up for, because the counter argument is, well, Brock Bowers not playing, Ladd McConkey not playing, that affected the SEC championship, and then you get in this back and forth of, well, we didn't have all our players, so we're at full sync. You then stoop down to their argument. You won the game. You won the game by 60 points. That's 10. That's more than 10. That's 10 touchdowns exactly, not counting field goals. So the fact is, you don't have to respond to that. You don't have to answer to it, because if you do, we're still talking about the Orange Bowl a month ago now. Florida State's fans are getting their way. Like, you don't have to engage with this, because the only way you're going to legitimize, your 2 national titles is if you stop talking about it. So that's kind of my 2 cents there, is don't buy into these trolls. Be able to recognize trolling when you see it. Like Danny Cannell constantly posting highlights of, hey, here's a Florida State player doing something good. He didn't play in the Orange Bowl. Is just opening up for engagement. If you don't engage with it, he'll go, oh, shit, that flopped. Time to move on to the next thing. And you won't have to deal with shit like this.
Yeah, it'll never happen, but it's definitely good advice. Speaking of the Senior Bowl, I mean, we're getting close to the Senior Bowl officially wrapping up. I think it's good to kind of note on the Georgia players that are there. Basically, I think quite a few of them or pretty much all of them have had their name cycle through the news at least a couple times now of them making good plays. I know Tyke Smith's name was floating around after he had that pass breakup against the tight end. And then obviously, I think the biggest 2 winners of the weekend are definitely Rojak and Ladd McConkey. Those 2 guys have consistently had their name instilled into this Twitter space or articles or whatever, and both of them have definitely helped up their draft stock. I mean, I read a mock draft today that has Ladd McConkey now being drafted in the first round. Number 31st overall, I want to say, so a back-end first-rounder.
Ahead of Marius Mims?
Yeah, no Marius Mims in the first round. Ladd McConkey was the third Bulldog to be taken, the third Bulldog to be taken in the first round. So very interesting stuff, making a lot of noise. But I think from a standpoint of where they would have been drafted before this to where they might be drafted now, I think Rojak might be the biggest winner amongst all the Bulldogs this weekend, because, I mean, people are labeling him as a guy that may have been a thought in the 7th round of, like, this is a guy we'll take a chance on the 7th round. And now this dude is worth a 4th round pick, probably, maybe even earlier, and he's going to be in the league for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I think Rojak had the most to gain from this, because we saw how talented he was. I mean, we saw in 2020 when the Florida game, but he unfortunately had that leg injury, and then ever since then it was kind of, he was always, quote, the second X, but he was always reliable. He always did his job, and you always knew how talented he was. But I think maybe his growth and his trajectory was maybe stunted by that injury, and it's good to see that he's getting recognition in the Senior Bowl now for being a truly having NFL talent. Like, he can absolutely be a guy in the league. I mean, Chris Conley, I don't want to give him a comp like that, or just it feels
same
lazy
thought
to do that,
process, though, for sure.
I mean, you can be a guy in the league for 10, 12, 13 years if you are consistently doing the right thing, you have good fundamentals, catch everything that's thrown at you. I mean, that feels like it's perfect Marcus Jack Saint.
I mean, he had 2 drops his entire college career. That alone is going to get you some type of recognition. If you can be reliable, if people know that you're going to do your job every time you're put out there, and you have a willingness to play anywhere and everywhere. I think it was Ladd that was talking about this. I think it was after today's practice session. He was talking about the value of playing special teams and if he would do that. And he talks about how Kirby Smart has always instilled into them that the best players are the ones that play on special teams. And he's like, absolutely, I would do anything. I would play anything that they want him to. Obviously, Rojak would be another guy that would have that type of mindset. And, I mean, Chris Conley, he's in on the hands team for the onside kicks and whatnot. We're seeing plenty of players that if you can be good on special teams, if you can be valuable, then you're always going to hold down a roster spot. And the Georgia players, because they do play on special teams, because the best players do play on kickoffs and punt returns and whatever else, that's added value to them that they have. And so it's good to see that someone like Rojak is getting recognition, because Georgia fans saw it every single time. I mean, he was one of the most reliable targets throughout the last 4 years. And he was always a guy that you can count on. He made big plays. He made timely plays. And when the ball wasn't in his hands, he was impacting plays. So good to see him obviously getting his name into the cycle, and people saying this is definitely a name that you need to have stored in the back of your mind when those mid-rounds come up.
How you doing over there, Brooks?
He's doing a lot better now, it looks like.
Yeah, he's smiling again.
Got a good smile on. He's
glowing. He's glowing. He's absolutely glowing.
He is absolutely glowing. Golden hour for our boy Brooks over there.
Looks a little boxy right now, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
If you're just joining us and you're wondering what the hell's going on with Brooks, that's not actually Brooks, believe it or not. He's upstairs taking care of his kids and his wife that are now battling the illness that he had. So sharing is caring, I guess, for that. Good
How
job.
confused do you think our podcast audience is going to be listening to this?
Yeah, they're missing out on us. If you're listening on audio, please go watch YouTube.
You need to go to the YouTube video.
Go look at, just
smash
to see
the like
that.
button, smash the subscribe button, and just get a glimpse of your boy Brooks today in the studio. Just looking glowing as always.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to ask them in chat. We'll probably get around to them.
At some point.
What's going on with the Georgia basketball team? Because I watched that game last night.
Yeah.
And the last 2 Georgia games have felt like a slow death. One was you were down big against Florida. You come back, you tie it up, you force overtime, and then you lose.
Yeah.
Then you're hosting Alabama, the number 1 team in the SEC.
Yep.
You're hosting them in your stadium. You get up quick 15-point lead. Like, it was 17-2 at the start of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly withers away until Alabama wins by, 9?
Yeah, something like that. This is the second game that they've lost in this type of fashion. They were up against Tennessee at home, a game you should have won, a game against a ranked opponent, top 10 opponent, and slowly but surely Tennessee marched their way back into the game. Eventually they took over and they won. Same thing with Alabama. The Florida game, that was just a case of you made an insane comeback, but you probably knew that you needed to win it before overtime, because if you got into overtime, you just kind of had a feeling that Florida would find a way to bounce back and win that game. But I think the most important thing throughout this entire college basketball season for the Hoop Dogs is that you got to maintain perspective about what this season was and what the season was supposed to be. I mean, if 5 months ago I came in here and I told you guys that Georgia basketball was going to be linked to March Madness this time of year multiple times throughout the year, you would have said I was crazy. I mean, nobody had those types of expectations coming into the year. Nobody thought postseason play was even a thing. The biggest thing was people just wanted to continue to see the program get better. Well, the program has gotten better. It's taken a massive step forward. I think we all can agree that this Mike White hire is going to pan out. It's just a matter of these guys have got to learn how to finish games, and I think this is kind of a byproduct that you get a little bit when you bring in so many portal guys throughout an offseason of it's. I mean, even at this point in the season, you're still kind of feeling the continuity of the group grow, and you're still kind of getting closer and closer together, but it's still not 100% there even at this point in the season in conference play. So just maintaining a positive perspective about the season, knowing that this is absolutely a bonus season, and also knowing and realizing that there's still plenty of opportunity this year. I mean, obviously, each loss that you take, especially games like the one you lost to Alabama, those are ones that hurt your chances of making postseason, but still plenty of opportunities on the schedule left to make a push for the postseason. You got South Carolina at home this weekend. You already beat them once.
Good.
If you can beat them a second time, they are very good. They should be a ranked team, in my opinion, at this point. I don't think they actually are yet. They're like 26 in the country right now. But you already beat them once on the road, so if you can get a win there, and then you got some other big-time, like you got another rematch with Florida at home, some other big-time games coming up on the schedule, but you got to go on a heater. You got to go on a streak at this point. But just continue maintaining a positive perspective, knowing that the program is in a fantastic spot, and also knowing next year is going to be even better. It's only going to get better. I mean, 5-star Asa Newell's committed right now, one of the top players in the country. He's going to be a huge difference maker. So it's just going to be a matter of seeing who returns, who comes back, and whatnot. But I think it's more so than anything, it's been enjoyable to watch them this year. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, 2 years ago, nobody wanted to talk about Georgia basketball. It was a freaking dumpster fire.
No, and I think that is kind of the what's so hard about being a casual Georgia fan, in that you spend so long watching a football team that it seems like all they do is win. They dominate. They're in the national championship talks every year.
Yeah. And
then you're told you have to go and be really invested in a basketball team that's kind of finding its stride right now. I mean, we're under the second year of the Mike White regime, and things are already looking up a lot. But you have to be patient. This isn't a top Final Four team yet. This isn't an SEC conference champion team yet. You have to give it time. The trajectory of it's looking really good. But it's something you need to give it time, and you're going to have frustrating losses like this Florida game, like this Alabama game, but at least you're seeing fight. Whereas 2 years ago, both of those games are 20-point victories for the other teams.
You don't even
they're not even
chance.
close. Like, it was a miracle that when number 1 Auburn came to Athens in 2021, that game was even close at all. Like, that was the win of the season, and it was a loss. So Georgia basketball's come a long way, still got a long way to go. Just be patient with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think next year 3, definitely is a testament year for Mike White. I don't want to call it Judgment Day or anything like that, but it certainly feels that way. Like year 3, these types of games you better be winning. This can't become a consistent thing. This can't be, and I think this was kind of the Achilles heel of him while he was at Florida, and it's why Florida fans got so tired of Mike White, is because I feel like they always lost these games. I don't think that's necessarily just something that follows you everywhere. I think it more so has to do with I think coaching obviously matters down the stretch of the games, and I don't know if these games necessarily get boiled down to coaching decisions, though. I feel like really it's just some boneheaded mistakes. I mean, first off, I think Georgia had 19 turnovers against Alabama. That's going to kill you every time. I don't care who you are, how good you are. You turn the ball over that many times, it's not a recipe to win. You can't put that on a coach. Ultimately, that's the players making decisions with the ball in their hands, and if they're putting in the wrong spots, they're turning the ball over. There's only so much you can do. But I think eventually this group and Mike White and this program, they're going to find a spot, and they're just going to stay there, and they're going to continue to be good. You're still one of the top teams in the SEC, still a really competitive basketball program, and the fact that you have an enjoyable product to watch in the offseason of the football, that's just a great thing. And it looks and sounds like the baseball program is going to do some good things under Wes Johnson the first year. So athletics all around at the University of Georgia is just on the up and up, along with the football program still too.
Transitioning back to football, they released, or I think it was FanDuel today, released some early lines for a couple of Georgia games. They got
some more Georgia games.
You got Ole Miss, Texas, and Bama. Did you see the lines for that?
I did not.
All right, I knew
there was one for Clemson.
All right, I want to play Guess the Lines with you.
Oh, gosh.
I want you to guess what the Georgia-Texas line is right now.
I feel like Texas would be favored, to be honest, just because it's at home for them, and it's going to be it's probably going to be the biggest matchup of the college football season, arguably, when it comes to college football playoff implications. Two of the best quarterbacks in the country, but then there's also part of me that thinks maybe Georgia might be favored by like 1.5. I think either way, it's going to be a small margin, like no more than 2 points, in my opinion, no more than 2.5. But I think I'm going to go Texas favored by 1.
So the line is Georgia minus 1.5.
Oh, see, I had the number right. I just really thought that the home field advantage for Texas and whatnot would put them over the edge.
Now, I mean, this is, again, months away from this game taking place, so a lot's going to happen beforehand. But to be favored at Texas going in where they have a very experienced quarterback. I mean, Quinn Ewers is a senior at this point.
He might
be,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's impressive. A team that was in the playoff last year could have very well made the national championship if they didn't run into Washington. So, to be favored by 1.5 points on the road against them when it's your first time playing them in 5 seasons, 2019?
2019, yeah.
Well, it's 2018, so it's 6 seasons
2019 was Baylor.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's impressive. Then, guess the line for Georgia-Bama.
It's definitely still going to be a close line. I do think if Georgia's not favored in this one, but they're favored against Texas, I'd be really shocked. So I think it's a little bit bigger than it is against Texas. So I'm going to say Georgia minus 3.
3.5.
Oh, dang it. All right.
So, yeah, the Kalen DeBoer effect, not having Nick Saban. I mean, this game is almost guaranteed to be
if Nick Saban's head coach, Alabama's
I think that swings 4 points in Bama's favor.
Yeah, probably so.
So, and then final one is Georgia versus Ole Miss. Kind of back end of the season, long way away. Ole Miss, top 10 football team, Lane Kiffin. Teams traditionally play better at home. First time traveling to Oxford since 2016, I believe. You got your brains beat in there.
Yeah, you did. That was a rough game. The thing you got to remember about this is Vegas is not going to consider all this preseason hype that Ole Miss is getting from a lot of people. I mean, it's definitely going to be a better football program this year, or at least they should be, with Lane Kiffin and all the people that they got from the portal. But definitely, Georgia's definitely going to be favored. They're favored in the other two, so they're definitely going to be favored in this one.
Correct.
Again, it's going to be higher than the other two, I would imagine. So I'm going to say Georgia minus 5.5.
It's Georgia minus 3.5, same as the Bama line, which basically tells me that Vegas knows that there's a lot more to come on this line. They're basically just opening it at 3.5 because it's so far away that, hey, maybe Carson Beck gets hurt. Maybe Ole Miss is a lot worse than we think. Maybe they're leaving movement for the line to take place and setting it at a very valuable spot. Right? I mean, 3.5 is, Georgia could win that game by 3.5. Georgia could win that game by 10. We don't know right now. So it's kind of just a safe spot to put it at. But what that tells me, honestly, is that Georgia has reached this Bama status where no matter where you play them, no matter when you play them, no matter who you play, it's Georgia, and they're going to be favored. I mean, there was, like a 4-year streak where Bama was favored in every single game?
I mean, every single game. It didn't matter who they were playing against or what.
Yeah, and if they were underdogs, they beat you like a drum. So that I think that Georgia is coming into their own a bit, and the retirement of Nick Saban only really cements that more. That Georgia is the team that should be able to take the crown of college football.
Are people really jumping on these lines that early?
Oh yeah.
Really? I mean, I would be so scared to put any sort of money on any game right now. That far away, especially like that Ole Miss game, you have no idea what is going to happen by then. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much at play there. The fact that you'd be investing money on a game like that, I mean, I guess if you just got the faith in the dogs, then absolutely. But, I mean, at least in this case and scenario, those are small margins. So, like, it might be a good idea to, like, Ole Miss might be a good one to go ahead and put some money on for that line because – if there were a game where that line would continue to grow, same for maybe even Alabama, then it'd be those two. That Texas line, I wouldn't be touching it, I feel like.
Well, the reason that it's good value right now is because barring injury, barring catastrophe, barring Georgia just shitting the bed this year, that line's probably only going to move in Georgia's favor.
That's true.
Like if it's 3.5 now, by the time we get to a week before the game, it might be 6.5. It might be 7.5 to where then we're sitting here saying, damn, I wish we had taken that when it was at 3.5. So that's why they said it here. It's enticing to guys or bettors that really look at the early lines. But, we don't do that because Georgia has not legalized sports gambling.
We're not
yet,
felons.
so.
We don't do anything like that. No criminal
never.
activity
I just really pay
here.
attention to the numbers.
That's fun. I've misguessed the line. So
I know. It is good to talk about just gambling stuff.
Take care of that itch I got.
I don't have an itch, dude. People are going to watch this show and think that I'm like addicted to gambling. I'm not.
Who you got this spring? You taking red team or black team? What are you taking?
Roulette?
No, I'm talking about the G-Day game.
I don't think you
red team favored by 4.5 points right now. Who you taking?
I'd have to see the roster. I'd have to see the roster and run my simulations.
Your simulations?
Yeah.
You're definitely going to be that guy when the new college football game comes out. You're going to have betting simulators going on.
Dude, that's actually like an actual. So I'll go ahead and blow the water on this. That's probably one of the segments I'm going to do coming into the season. When they release the new NCAA game, I'm going to have that be the model to see how accurately the NCAA portrays regular college football games. I'll have them simulate, I don't know, like 5 or 6 games, then come through and say, all right, Georgia beat Texas by an average of 33 to 21, so Georgia should be favored by 12 points. These are all hypothetical numbers, obviously, but I am going to be interested to see how accurate this NCAA football game is.
Interesting. Can't wait for that type of content. That's going to be a fun little especially because if it does come out in the early part of July like we think it's going to, I mean, that's going to hit right at the perfect time of the offseason where it gets to that point where you really, really, really are wanting college football back, and you're going to get a little bit of a taste of it. You're just going to have nothing to do but play video games during that time.
Did you see the the leak? I don't know if these are real or not, but did you see the leaked player model that came out today?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I'll have to pull it up for you after the show.
Is it promising or?
It looks. Here's what it is. It's very promising to see a college athlete in a video game with graphics that aren't 11 years old. Like NCAA 14 was a very good game, but you're at the point now where that was the Xbox 360, that was a PS3. That was 12 years ago almost. So the fact that we're getting to see next-gen console players wearing Tennessee orange and things such as that, very, very sick.
Tennessee orange of all things?
Well, talk real quick and I'll pull it up for you.
All right. I mean, definitely excited about it. I mean, I'm just interested to see how much it actually like takes over that whole month and just how invested people are about it. I mean, obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of people calling out sick the day that it releases. It's kind of like the day after the Super Bowl. Like, it's just kind of a given that, hey, I'm probably not going to be at work tomorrow because I have to go to work after the Super Bowl. And that's probably just not a good idea for me. So I'm going to go take care of business there. But I am intrigued to see some of the graphics. I mean, you knew they were going to be better.
Yeah, I'm now not being able to find the clip.
That's
but
okay. I don't need to see the
here
Tennessee.
it is.
Oh,
there it is.
Oh, so that's what was on your screen earlier. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Does look nice. You guys can't see it, but it does look pretty promising graphics-wise. It's going to look clean. So that Georgia G and the red and black, same for same, the beautiful hedges, they're all going to look exquisite.
I really can't understate how excited I am for this game.
Yeah.
I might cry when I plug it in.
You know, it's kind of unfortunate because I was looking forward to buying a physical copy of the game, but then Microsoft and Xbox announced that they're doing away with hard copies. So I don't know if there's going to be a hard copy of the game.
There's got to be a hard copy.
I hope there is.
I have to look at the case.
Yeah.
I have to be able to have it in my hands, open it, to feel the disc, put it in the Xbox. Don't take that away from me, EA, please. Please.
My gosh. So you said that you have a bold prediction for the 2024 season for Georgia.
I do. And this is a prediction that a good portion of the fan base is going to be like, all right, I don't give a shit. But if you do care, you are extremely passionate about this. Now, I'm amongst the crowd of this that doesn't really, really care, but I would like to see it happen. So it seems like every season we go into, or every game, we get this buzz, and someone dares to ask the question, hey, is this going to be the year they wear black jerseys? Or, man, I wish Kirby would let us wear those alternate jerseys that we see on the visits for once. They look so good. Problem with that is that you then have the naysayers of it where, oh, no, the jerseys are cursed. Kirby Smart doesn't do gimmicks. We can't do that. And they're kind of right, but they're also wrong. In the 3 games that Georgia has played in black jerseys under Kirby Smart, they're 3-0.
They are.
So the argument about a curse isn't valid. That happened, with the Alabama in 2008. Kirby Smart was on that team, or on the Alabama staff. So, and while it's true that Kirby Smart doesn't really rely on gimmicks to motivate his team, he has shown that there's a time and place where you need to kind of manufacture some steam, get some hype going around your program. For example, your team gets eliminated from contention by losing to arguably your hardest rival in 2020. And, oh, by the way, you're opting to start another new guy at quarterback next week. Why not roll out the black jerseys? Or you just beat the number 9 team in the country in your first year with the team. Hey, let's keep the momentum rolling for senior day. Roll out the black jerseys again. I count the Peach Bowl as kind of a olive branch to seniors because they got their senior day taken away from them by the Vanderbilt. So I don't really count that as needing extra motivation, but you were going up against an undefeated Cincinnati team in the Peach Bowl and kind of relying on we don't need to have another 3-loss season going into 2021. So I say all that to show you that sometimes Kirby does rely on that extra motivation, the manufactured hype, which makes sense as to why the past 3 seasons you haven't needed black jerseys. You've rolled through every single team you've played. You've gone 12-0 in the regular season. You haven't won a home game by less than 10 points in that 3 years. You won 2 national. I mean, I don't need to go over the resume for you, but you haven't needed that extra juice. Now, you can't look at this 2024 season and tell me that there's a guarantee Georgia's going 12-0 again. In fact, I would probably say when the lines come out, their win total is going to be about 10.5 to 11. And that loss is probably going to come on the road. Let's be honest. You play Bama, you play Texas, you play Ole Miss. 3 top 15 college football teams, 3 very good programs. Very good chance you lose them any given Saturday on the road. Very tough place to win. So what happens if you do lose one of those games and you need to come back and your fan base is kind of down in the dumps? Because guess what? You haven't lost a regular season game in 4 years. Like, it's going to be hard. Taking a loss is going to be hard.
Yeah. We know that now.
So bouncing back on a home game is going to be very, very important. And what's no better way to get your team rowdy and excited, your fan base kind of behind you. They're selling beer in the stadiums now, so it's going to be even more rowdy. That's why I guarantee this year at some point Georgia will wear some form of alternate jerseys. I don't know if it's going to be the black uniforms that they always do. I don't know if it's going to be the white helmets. I don't know if they'll go back to that 1980 retro thing that they did in 2020. But I guarantee at some point in the season, Kirby Smart will hit the button and say, hey, we need some alternate jerseys here. Because if you think about it, 2016, they did it the first year, went 4 seasons, did it again in 2020. It's been 4 seasons since 2020. About time for some more alternate uniforms. So that's what I'm predicting.
Interesting.
Now, I know that there's a lot of people who are going to say, it's jerseys, dude. I don't care. If you ask, someone's going to ask Kirby Smart, and he's going to say, I don't care what we play, and I care how we play. We all know that's the case. But deep down inside, everyone wants to say, you know what? Why not see the black jerseys? So that's my prediction for it.
That is a bold prediction of considering how rare it actually happens. And the thing, too, is like when it does, when or if it happens again, do you think this is going to be something that, like, it's floated out into the media space and people are aware of it? Or do you think Kirby's just going to rip it off and nobody's going to know about it? Because I feel like it's one of those things where you kind of want the people in the know about it. Like, you want if you're going to do it, have the stadium blacked out again. Like, that'd be a really cool sight to see.
I think because, like you said, in the 3 instances that Kirby's done it, he has gone ahead and said, hey, look, blackout, be ready. Did it in 2020 twice when you really needed extra money. I mean, 2020 was a hard season for a lot of reasons,
Yeah.
but that loss to Florida really, really killed your momentum and really had a lot of people kind of questioning, where was this team going? But then you come out in black jerseys with JT Daniels. He throws for 400 yards. Oh, my God, we're winning the national championship next year. That did happen, but it wasn't because of the reason you thought. So I do think Kirby would come out and say, like, hey, be loud, be proud. We're bringing out the black jerseys for y'all. I don't do this a lot. So, I mean, it is going to be it will be special when it happens. I don't know if I did just guarantee it'll happen, but there's always a chance that it doesn't. So I am going to say it will happen this year. I truly believe that. And the inverse of that is that we probably do lose a regular season game. I don't love that idea, but just looking at that schedule, looking at that record of we've gone 12-0 in the regular season 3 straight years, I don't know how you do it a fourth with this schedule.
It'd be monumental if you can go through this schedule unscathed going into the postseason. I mean, my gosh, go through that gauntlet and you're untouched. You'd be far and away the favorite for the national title game going into the postseason. But so, like, opportunities for it. I mean, Auburn's a home game.
Yep.
That would be a good opportunity for it. I feel like, though, Georgia Tech might even be the better option that they would probably consider. Like, you got to this point in the season, like it's finally over. One last hurrah for the seniors or something like that.
I like that idea,
I think Georgia Tech would be a good one because it's still a big enough game to where it get the fans into it, but maybe not like against a rival like Auburn. Tennessee, obviously, maybe potentially.
Yeah. So think about this run. You go to Texas, you have your bye week, you play in Jacksonville against Florida, then you go to Oxford.
Yeah.
You're on the road or Georgia doesn't play in Athens for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then they come back after a month of being away from Sanford Stadium. They come back and play Tennessee November 16th. I'm going to say November 16th against Tennessee, Georgia will do a blackout. I'm not going to guarantee that.
Date on it.
I'm not guaranteeing that. I am guaranteeing
it.
they wear black jerseys this season, though. And I know that's something super trivial to some people that they just don't. It's jerseys. I don't give a shit. But it is very important to a lot of people. It's important to recruits. That's why you roll out white helmets and all these other uniform combinations for them. So it's important to the people that play the game, which is why I'm going to say it's a guarantee.
So here's my question. Kind of going back to the NCAA game, do you think they'll put black jerseys
They better.
as a chance? Because they've never been in the game, have they? It's never been an option if you're Georgia to use the black jersey except maybe in 09 or something like that?
I don't think so. I know in NCAA 14 you could use the Nike All-Pro ones.
Yeah, disgusting.
The Power
Who
Ranger
wants
uniforms?
to use those doo-doo things?
Yeah, no, the Power Ranger uniforms were disgusting. I did like the silver helmets, though.
Yeah. Those were fun to dabble
Silver
with a
helmets
little bit.
combined with red jersey and silver
But, man,
breeches.
Get some more drip for Georgia.
I
in the new game.
think the fact that they've been working on this game so long and this game has to hit, they're going to add details.
At least
in
put like the throwback uni or something like that in there to give you some different combinations you can work with. Like if you want to do kind of like an all red look or something like that. But man, if they put the all white ones in there, oh my gosh, those are the ones I want to see. I think those have the least chance of ever seeing the field because I think that red helmets are so iconic and whatnot that I don't think those are ever going to be messed with, but it would still be really cool to see.
We've got some questions in the chat. What's y'all's wildest UGA story? Do you want to go first on that? Because I got to think of one that I'd be comfortable saying on air.
UGA story. Oh man. I mean, I've witnessed a dude bomb South Lumpkin Street and absolutely nail himself into the asphalt.
For those who don't know, bombing means riding a skateboard down.
Oh yeah, not the other form.
Yeah,
like on one of those scooters. I mean, dude was just booking it down South Lumpkin Street, and it did not end well when he got to the bottom. Scary things happen with bike ride. I know you're a bike rider.
I am a biker.
As bad as drivers are in Athens, bike riders are up there too. Of like they just really don't care and they don't look and they just barrel through red lights and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, it's because if you hit us, we get free tuition.
The buses, yeah, I did know that one.
Yeah, the wildest UGA story. I can't think of any off the top of my head that would not like incriminate me or get me in a lot of trouble.
I could tell a funny one. I like my first when I first had gotten to Athens, hanging out with some friends one night. My friend put a whole box of dryer sheets in the washing machine, and so when we took some clothes out of the washing machine, there was just cardboard and a bunch of dryer sheets in the washing machine.
All right, I got a good one. I've thought about this. So me and my buddy, one week decided that we were going to go and buy a box full of fart bombs. And we took those fart bombs downtown to Lazy Shopper. If you've never been to Lazy Shopper, by the way, they stopped selling sandwiches, which is bullshit.
Got some beef with them, huh?
Bro, they used to have sub sandwiches that were so clutch because it'd be like 1 a.m. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go get me a sub. It was like $6. They don't do it anymore. It's bullshit. Anyway, so we go in there and we each go to an aisle and set off a couple of these fart bombs. And the guy behind the counter, because when they pop, like they make a popping sound, like it sounds like someone. Not shotgun, like threw something on the ground. So here's that pop, and the guy behind the counter comes out and he's like looking around, seeing what it is, and the smell hits him, and he goes, "What the hell?" And like starts looking around. Now me and my friend have to play it cool. We can't immediately walk out because obviously that incriminates you. So like we're looking around, like looking at things on the shelves, like. Huh? And he's like,
what's going on?
Smells like shit in here. What's going on? So everyone who walked in for the next 5 minutes was like, "Damn, what the hell?" Like they had to close down for the night, I think, because
you stole money out of a man's pocket.
Well, you know what? He stole money out of his own pocket when he decided to stop selling sandwiches. So
stop selling the Sammys. That's tough.
Who's gonna be on the NCAA cover?
You know, we talk about this.
All right, you know what? Forget who's gonna be on the NCAA cover. Who do you want to see on the NCAA cover?
Man, I think that it's kind of both. I think it is going to be this, and I think it would be cool to see it. I do think Nick Saban on the cover would be pretty ballin'. I think that would be a good tribute. But like a player that I'd want to see, not even going to go the Georgia route. I'm going to think of someone else outside of college. It's tough to say. I feel like, what if they put Arch Manning on it?
I can't even like say, I'm not buying it because you could put
like Quinn Ewers definitely could be an option. The Texas Longhorns, massive brand in college football.
You could put not a single athlete on the cover and just put EA Sports 25 NCAA football.
That might be what they do, honestly.
No, dude, you can't fumble this cover.
Oh, I don't know. I think Nick Saban is definitely the one that they need.
Here's what I think you do, and this is what I recommend to EA Sports. You get every athlete from 2014 to 2023 that made an impact. I'm talking like your Joe Burrows,
like our beautiful wall,
your Johnny Manziels, your guys. You put it in a big mosaic. You put in like a nice collage, a platform. Like we get all of them and honor the ones that should have been cover athletes. Like I said, like Joe Burrow, like Lamar Jackson, like Johnny Manziel, even though he was in the game. Like guys like that didn't get a chance to be on that, and you put them on the cover. That's my final vote. I don't know if that's a safe, boring answer, but
yeah, it's not a bad idea. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and end it there. We're going to wrap it up for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a change up with us, just me and the boy Christian. So I hope you guys, whether you stuck with us for 2 hours, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, we appreciate you guys. Before you head out, though, smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. We will be back next week with the trio. So we'll see you guys next week. I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, if you like this, thanks. Let Brooks know. If you didn't, don't worry. It probably won't happen again for the near future. But also, shout out to Brooksbot. Thank you very much for coming in and
lovely live audience for us.
He's been awfully quiet today, dude. This is the least he said all year.
Yes.
I've known the man,
but he smiled the whole time, and we appreciate that.
Smiling through the pain.
Gave positive vibes to us.
Kids are upstairs sick. He's battling the flu, and look at him, still smiling.
Anyway, love you guys. Thank you.